gang, what's up? Just Aaron right here at Question Period Canada. We've got a montage for you. It's the worst and the best at the same time. Pierre Poilievre, Trudeau, Freeland, and all of Poilievre's wild army, Trudeau's corrupt cabinet. They make us sick, right? But we're going to put them together with a little bit of pizzazz. Let's check out these clips. Canadian politics, guys, if you haven't been watching, times are tough, and there's a reason for it. It's this Trudeau government. Man, oh man, we got to get rid of these liberals. Here's a quick peek at so many things that are happening in Canada right now. Let's watch.
Bill, why can't he get behind that common sense plan?
Speaker, inflation has gone up, interest rates have gone up, food prices have gone up, energy prices have gone up, all linked to the ongoing war that Russia is waging in Ukraine.
Is that why?
He's not there for Ukraine, he's there for himself. When conservatives demanded that the government provide lethal weapons before Putin's invasion, when they most needed them, he said no. When conservatives kicked Putin out of the G8, made it the G7, he said no. And what he said yes to giving Putin an exported, big, powerful turbine to pump his gas and fill his war chest and export detonators used for Russian mines that blow up Ukrainians, Mr. Speaker. That's not there for Ukrainians. We will stand for Ukrainians and for Canadians.
I'm delighted to find ourselves in an argument about which side of the House is more supportive of Ukraine, because one of the strengths that Canada has had on the world stage these past difficult 2 years is that we've said there is no debate around support in Ukraine in Canada like there is in other countries where MAGA-inspired far-right movements are undermining supports for Ukraine. The Conservative Party of Canada has an opportunity to reverse its position in opposing the Ukraine free trade deal that Zelensky is asking for. Will they vote in favor of Ukraine?
Remember your country, bud.
When it came time to support military aid to Ukraine, they voted against. When it came time to support Operation Unifier, they voted against. When it came to the Canada-Ukraine Free Trade Agreement, twice they voted against. While the Conservative leader is busy taking talking points from Fox News and Donald Trump, on this side of the House, we support Ukraine!
Question Period Canada, right? I've got a couple of questions for you. Do you give a about the Ukraine? Do you give a about those people? Like, what about the people at the grocery store? Those are the people I care about, my fellow Canadian citizens.
We recognize that climate change is a reality.
Is climate change a reality, or does the weather just change? Never trust a Michelin tire.
This plan raises a carbon tax on a greenhouse in my riding, which meant that their produce is more expensive in the village of Manotick than a Mexican tomato is in the village of Manotick, sending a price signal for consumers to buy the tomato that had to be transported by truck and train, burning fossil fuels right across the continent. Why doesn't he axe the tax so that we can bring down the cost of farm production and bring home more clean, green Canadian produce?
This is just about the absolute worst of Trudeau's cabinet. The absolute worst. These are the crooks and the felons. Let's take a peek.
Mr. Speaker, our government absolutely understands that the housing and the cost of living are challenges for Canadians. That is why we are aggressively working across the country to build more homes faster.
Time the Prime Minister comes back from another extravagant vacation he didn't pay for, or Cabinet decides to have a meeting in a luxury hotel, more Canadians are without a home that's affordable, and even more are worried about losing it. After 8 years, they've doubled the cost of a home, the price of rent, and a down payment that you need to buy one. Interest payments on a mortgage are going up a staggering 30% this year. 8 years of Liberal NDP government's inflationary spending has made owning a home unattainable. So how can anyone trust the people that created the crisis to fix it?
The opposition seems interested in drawing on the anxieties that people are experiencing that are very real when it comes to housing affordability in this country. However, when you actually look at the plan they're putting forward, it's clear they have no idea what they're talking about.
When President Biden addressed this chamber, he said that Canada and the United States can do big things. If we work together, if we stand together, we will rise together.
We have been there for seniors from the get-go. One of the first things that we did was reverse what the former Prime Minister did, Stephen Harper did, on the world stage at the World Economic Forum in Davos. And he raised that retirement age from 65 to 67, putting a lot of seniors into poverty.
Agreements with cities that have led to them to already change their rules to get more homes built. What they dismiss as press conferences included a new measure this morning that's going to extend low-cost loans to colleges and universities and builders to help those young people find a home and to free up supply in communities.
He gave us 3 different versions of his Jamaican vacation. First, he claimed he was paying all the expenses for his family's stay. Secondly, he claimed he was staying at no cost at a location owned by a family friend. And then he claimed that he and his family stayed with friends. Now, all 3 different versions cannot be accurate at the same time.
Mr. Speaker, the Prime Minister and his family took a Christmas vacation. Before the trip, the Office of the Ethics Commissioner was consulted on the details to ensure the rules were followed. The Prime Minister and his family then proceeded with the trip, and all the rules were followed, Mr. Speaker.
We've now learned that shortly after their critical whistleblowing testimony, these senior public servants were put on leave without pay. They were told they were under investigation less than 3 weeks after their testimony, and they were suspended before the investigation had even concluded.
On the contrary, senior officials of the Canadian Border Services Agency that are responsible for ensuring that all the appropriate contracting practices are followed have appeared before the committee, and my conversation in early January with the president of CBSA was to the effect that we should share with the committee looking into this information obtained by the internal audit. Mr. Speaker, CBSA is doing its important work to ensure that everyone is responsible for following the rules. They've called in the police where necessary, they've done internal audits, and will continue to do all of this to ensure taxpayers' value.
Was to axe the tax, build the homes, fix the budget, and stop the crime.
General of Canada.
I'm very happy that the Leader of the Opposition, after reading a government press release, has finally tuned into this issue. But a couple of clarifications. Mandatory minimums for auto theft for repeat offences already exist in the criminal code. So you're not changing something that already exists. Secondly, as an aggravating factor for an auto theft that occurs with organized crime, that's already on the books too. 718.2 of the criminal code, Mr. Leader of the Opposition.
Fuzzy video hiding daggers at my community in Alberta came out last week on social media. I have spent hours on the phone consoling people who are crying on the phone asking how we can stand up for the rights of 2 LGBTQ people in Alberta. Mr. Speaker, we are going to continue to work on this, and I have one message.
Our national child care program is making life more affordable for thousands of Canadian families, as is the Canada Child Benefit.
8 years, this Liberal NDP government wouldn't know accountability if they were hit over the head with it. Today, the Government Operations Committee heard from the Border Services Agency's head of professional integrity. The lesson: this is a kangaroo court for the government to investigate its own department. Min Doan, the chief information officer during ArriveCan, has been accused of deleting key emails, but the investigator reports to the senior officials at the same department that bought ArriveCan. So will this coalition government hold those in charge accountable, or do they plan to hide the dirt like they usually do?
The Minister revealed the truth about the carbon tax. I asked how many emissions are directly reduced from the carbon tax in an order paper question. This minister's response was, and I quote, "The government does not measure the annual amount of emissions that are directly reduced by federal carbon pricing." Wow. End quote.
What the member is saying is simply not true. Just before Christmas, we put out a study by Environment and Climate Change Canada that shows that carbon pricing will be responsible for between 20 and 30% of our greenhouse gas emissions between 2019 and 2030, Mr. Speaker. On the issue of carbon pricing and climate change, we have no lessons to take from the Conservative Party, whose official position is still today, as Alberta is suffering from droughts, as we're seeing unforeseen storms in eastern Canada, atmospheric rivers in BC. Their position is still that climate change simply does not exist.
Or does the weather just change?
Speaker. Housing hell. After 8 years of this NDP Liberal government, Canadians are literally living in housing hell. Rent has doubled. Mortgage payments have doubled. The cost to buy a house has almost doubled, and it takes 25 years now to save for a mortgage. It's no wonder for a down payment. It's no wonder there's tent cities all across this country. When will these Liberals realize you can't live in an announcement, you can't live in a photo op, you can't live in a press release, and support our common sense Conservative plan to get houses built?
Cost of their $54 million Arrive scam debacle. $11 million went to a company that did no work, 76% of contractors did no work, and the app itself didn't work. And now we learn that these Liberals awarded nearly $350,000 in bonuses to senior executives who presided over this corrupt mess. What the hell is going on?
One Arrive Scan company received $250 million in contracts. Let's get this straight. It's a company with 4 employees, headquartered in the basement of a tiny cottage. They got IT contracts even though they admit they do no IT work. $250 million? WTF.
I'm going to ask, we are dangerously close to crossing the line in terms of what is considered parliamentary language.
And that's why we're expecting and supporting all relevant authorities to follow up on these irregular contracting and this perhaps breaking of the rules. This is an important issue, and that's why we're taking it seriously, Mr. Speaker.
General said after she exposed the Arrive scam with this $60 million in spending she's been able to find, she says the RCMP, whom she just met about the scandal, will now have to go to court to get a production order to get all of the documents that the Prime Minister is covering up.
After having thanked and lauded the work of the Auditor General, our colleague wouldn't certainly want to pretend that she's not able to do her job.
Many of the documents were still hidden from her, either because they've been destroyed by corrupt Liberal government officials or because the Prime Minister is having them hidden. And now the RCMP will have to get a production order to get all the documents that are being deprived of the parliamentary committees investigating. So once again, a simple yes or no question. Will the Prime Minister hand over every single document that refers to the Arrive scam or GC strategies, yes or no? The Minister of Housing unleashed a vicious attack on himself. He said the Liberal government is presiding over what he called a generational moral failure, because so many people cannot find a place to live.
I'd like to remind the colleague opposite that in the Ag Committee last week, one of Canada's foremost expert on food policy, Sylvain Charlebois from Dalhousie University, said, and I quote, Madam Speaker, we don't see the evidence of that, talking about the impact of carbon pricing on food in Canada.
Also on April 1st, he'll be raising his excise tax on beer, wine, and spirits by another 4.7%. When will this Prime Minister stop his cruel April Fool's Day jokes and give Canadians a break?
Quite interested in the member opposite's question, because what he's effectively saying is that he is not in favor of the members and his people in his province receiving $1,500.
Hey gang, so what do you think? That's a rundown of the issues that are going on in Canada. A fun way, I don't know, I try these montages because I think people like them. Let me know in the comments, because we do want to make stuff that you like. And Canadian federal politics is what we're doing here. I'm a libertarian. Like, it seems very much like I'm pushing Poilievre. I'm not. He's just a better option than Trudeau. We're not voting for the Bloc or NDP. Like, so Poilievre is the guy. Like, seems like. Like and subscribe. Canadian politics. We're just having fun learning all about it. How do we fix this problem, guys? How do we fix it? We'll see. Check out next video. Thank you very much for watching. Stay warm. Have something healthy to eat.